seemed like a bunch of questions, but not a bunch of questions. And she was asking me, like, what do you want to do to help women? Like, how do you want to help women? And I was explaining to her how I ended up getting sick in like 2015. I ended up getting sick and I had an issue with my stomach. I don't know what the issue is because I never went back to the doctor to get the test ran to find out what the stomach problem was called. But like I said, I had cancer in 2006. So fast forward to 2015, I started having stomach issues. And within having those stomach issues, I was like, going to the doctor and I'm like, this is bothering me. I'm doing this is going on, that is going on. Couldn't keep nothing in, couldn't keep nothing down. So finally, the doctor says to me, well, you could take this pill, this pill, this pill. And she names all these over the counter medications that I could take. And by the time she was done, we were at about 5 pills, maybe 5 or 6. And when I left her office with the list of pills, I looked at the list of the pills while I was the, I was in my car. And I was like, ugh, like, I did not want to buy. For one, I didn't want to buy all those pills. And then two, I didn't want to take all those pills. And I was like sitting there with myself. And I had to have a, how people be talking about they had to have a come to Jesus moment. I had to come to myself moment. And I thought to myself, all the pills that I was taking while I was doing chemo and pills for pain and pills for uh, acid reflux and pills for this and pills for allergic reactions and all these different things I was taking. And I thought to myself at that moment, I don't want to take all these pills. I don't want to take all these pills. I didn't know what I was going to do at that time. I knew something was wrong with my stomach, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But I also know that I was stressed out. I also knew that I was eating poorly. And it was time for me to make a change. But the change that the doctor wanted me to make and the stuff that she wanted me to take, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life on medication. And a lot of people are okay with taking pills. Hi, Joshua. Taking pills and, taking pills for the rest of their lives. And I just didn't want to, after having cancer, I just didn't want to take pills for the rest of my life. So, like I said, I had to come to myself and I had to figure out what I was going to do, but I didn't know what I was going to do at that time. So then it came to the point of, hi, Natasha, you're watching. That's all that matters. I had to come to the point where I wasn't going to do what the doctor said. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. Hey, big games. And I started to do smoothies. I was doing smoothies in the morning. Smoothies was something that I could tolerate. And I figured that at that point I would do smoothies. So then later on I started incorporating soup. Why I didn't start with soup? Well, I know I didn't start with soup because it was summertime. But then I started incorporating soup. And then I got to the point where it was like, okay, now I could tolerate soup, I could tolerate smoothies. And then if I ate something like cheese, like I knew cheese was like the worst thing to eat for me at the time, or ice cream. So I knew if I ate those things, after I ate them, I had problems with my stomach. I would just stop eating them. And finally, I went back to the doctor and I felt better. And she was like, you never came back because they wanted to put a scope down my nose to see what was wrong with my stomach. And I just wasn't doing it. That's just what it was. I just wasn't doing all that. And I wasn't taking all those pills. And I told her, I said, I just stopped eating the things that were causing my stomach to be upset, that was causing problems. Then I was learning how to de-stress and not be around stressful people, not have stressful people in my life, stop answering the phone, stop thinking that, something's going to happen if I don't answer the phone and talk to these people because they needed me to talk them off the cliff all the time. And I started taking care of myself. And when I got to the point where I was starting to take care of myself and I went back to the doctor for the follow-up, she said, "You never came back for the test." Hi, war child. And I said, "I just stopped eating the stuff that was causing me the problems." And she looked at me like I had 5 heads. And I'm like looking at her. We're like looking at each other like she's looking at me like I'm not making sense. And as a doctor, telling somebody else what to do with their body when you don't even take care of your own body, it's just like now it's like like it's like, how are you telling somebody to take care of their body and you don't take care of your own as a doctor? Hope you're doing well now. I am. Thank you so much. It's been 20 years. If you guys can hear me, press 1 because my phone just did something weird. I don't know what it was doing. But if you guys can hear me, press the 1 for me. As I was talking to El the Icon, and she was like, well, if you're going to help women that were in the same situation, and not just help women, but, most of my channels is all women. There's men, but there's mostly women. And she said, if you're going to help women that have the same issues or they're trying to figure things out like you were, why do you feel like your story is not strong enough to help them? And I was like, I immediately, like, my eyes just started to tear up. And I'm like, I don't know why I thought that my story wasn't strong enough to help them. Because most of the time when people have a story, they have a woe was me story or this and that. And I didn't really have that story because I knew I needed to change something. I just didn't know how to go about it. So now I'm helping people who want to change things, helping them get to the point where they know that, okay, I have high blood pressure. I don't want to take these medications. What am I going to do for high blood pressure other than taking these medications? And then that's where I come in. So I had to be that person for myself. I'm having issues with my stomach. I don't want to have cancer again. I don't want to have to take all these pills again. I don't want to have all these problems. What am I going to do to not have all those problems without taking all these over the counters or all these prescribed medications? And when I got to that point where I didn't want to do that, I had to figure something out. So now I'm helping women do that, helping them figure something else out. Because a lot of times the over the counter stuff, it masks the problem. The prescription stuff, it masks the problem. It doesn't get to the root cause of the problem. So my root cause of the problem was I was stressed the hell out. And I was letting people stress me out. And then when I got to the point where I was like, you're not going to do this. You're not going to talk to me this way. You're not going to treat me this way. Now I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy now. And another thing you have to be okay with is being the bad guy. Because once I stopped letting people do things to me, I became the bad guy. Once I started talking and telling people what they're not going to do to me, I became the bad guy. But that was a way for me to learn how to handle stress because I was stopping these people from doing whatever they wanted to me and saying whatever they wanted to me. And they didn't like that. So now I'm starting to separate myself from people. Sometimes when you're so stressed out, it affects your body. You have to start separating yourself from people. And you may not want to separate yourself from those people because they're family, because they're friend, because they're this, because they're that, and you do all this,
She's so self
I'm
conscious.
trying to I'm trying to be friends with this person. I'm trying to, keep being in their lives, but in reality, you don't need to be in their life and they don't need to be in yours because they're causing stress. They're causing you to have issues with your body, and nobody wants to talk about. I mean, people do talk about it, but a lot of times when people are in relationships and people are married, a lot of the times their stress is from that marriage, from that person. It's not always, I mean, their sickness is from being with that person. It's not always they they're not eating right, they're not doing this, they're not going to the gym. Sometimes it's the person that you're with. And a lot of times people marry somebody and they know that they shouldn't be with that person and they marry them anyway. And then they have to deal with the consequences of being with that person. And it's kind of like, well, I wanted to be in this relationship, but the relationship is basically stressing you out to the point where now you have an autoimmune disease. Now you have high blood pressure. Now you're overweight. You got all these issues going on because you want to be in a relationship with someone you shouldn't be in a relationship with. And they don't want to admit that the stress from this person is causing sickness in their body. And when you get to that point where you feel like, oh, it's not them, well, what is it? Because before you got into this relationship, you were doing well. Before you got into this relationship, you weren't sick. Before you got into this relationship, you weren't you weren't sick. Like now, and now it's like, okay, now I'm sick. Now I have this going on. I don't know what to do, but sometimes it's your relationship causing the sickness. Sometimes it's your job causing the sickness in your body. And I know everybody got to go to work. We got to go to work. We got to make money. We got to pay the bills. But at what cost? Because if you're sick all the time and you're hardly at work, it's probably the job. And you're every time you get there, some kind of issues going on. You got a headache. You can't think straight. But any other time when you're not at work, you're fine. Your boss is stressing you out. Your boss is asking you to do way more than you should be doing. And you're not getting paid extra for none of this stuff that you're doing. And your boss is depending on you for doing things. You're not even management, but your boss is depending on you to do things. And you're stressed out from work. And now it's affecting your body. Now you have some kind of autoimmune deficiency. Now you have some kind of just all these issues going on with your health. You're always having headaches. You're always popping pills. Why are you always popping pills when you're at work? Because you're stressed out at work. You're at work all the time. You're working all these extra hours and your body is breaking down and you're just like, what's the problem? It's work. You're stressed out from work. And then you go home. You got to take care of yourself. Well, you're supposed to be taking care of yourself, but you got to take care of your family. You're taking care of everybody else, other family members that don't even live with you. You're doing stuff for them. And then you wonder why you're so sick and you're so tired and you don't feel like yourself because you're so stressed out. But you know something has to change because you've been to the doctor and the doctor saying you got this, you got high blood pressure, your A1C is high, your cortisol is high, you got an issue with your thyroid, you got an issue with this, and your doctor's telling you all this stuff, and you're like, well, I don't know why I have all these problems. I eat okay. I go to the gym sometimes. I'm not. I'm not doing, too much of things you should be doing for yourself, but you get to the point where you're just like, okay, something has to give, something has to change. Because nobody's going to fix it for you. Yes, people like me can help you fix it, but nobody's going to actually do the work. You have to actually do the work. And when you do the work, That's when you really figure out, should I be married to this man or woman? Should I have this job? Should I keep going back and forth for people who clearly can take care of themselves, but they rather have me do it because they know I'm not going to say no because you don't set boundaries? So when you get to that point, when you're actually ready to change something, that's where somebody like me comes in and I'm like, okay, let's figure out what's what so you don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life. Let's figure out why you're so stressed out and why you're so bothered by certain things so you don't have to be sick the rest of your life. Because we could talk about a whole lot of things. We could talk about it, but what are we going to do about it? And that's when I got to the point where what am I going to do about it? What am I going to change? So this is what I'm doing, helping women who actually they know they need to change. They know that they don't want to be sick anymore. But they also know that they need to change their environment. Because you can change on the inside. You could do a lot of change on the inside, but sometimes you need to change your environment and you have to separate yourself. And there's nothing wrong with separating yourself. And sometimes you have to be alone with yourself and be by yourself so that your body can heal completely and not just heal a little bit and then you keep going back to the same situation, the same people, to the same types of jobs, to the same type of environments. So your body can heal, you're going to have to be alone a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with being alone. You might find that you like it. you you might find out that you like being alone sometime. You like having your peace, you like having your space to yourself. And there's nothing wrong with having space to yourself. But sometimes we get caught up in that whole, you need to be around people. Yes, you need to be around the right people. Because if you're stuck in a toxic environment with everything, with your job, with the people in your life, at home, it's only going to bring about sickness. There's nothing, if you don't get sick, you are one in a million. But mentally, you're sick because you think this toxic environment is normal and it's not. So it's going to affect your body sooner or later. Being in a toxic environment is not normal. It's not. And if you think it's normal because this is how I grew up and you know, this is what my mother did and this is what this person did, it's not normal. It's not. And we can sit around and we can pretend and act like it is, but it's really not. And we know it's not. And we know something's off. And we know something's off in our body. And that's why we have to keep going back and forth, popping these pills and keep taking this for headaches and keep doing this. And then some of you don't even drink water. It's time for you to, it's time for you to, it's time for you to take care of yourself first. I was going to say something else, but it's time for you to start taking care of yourself. And if that means you need to get a nutritionist, if that means that you need to get a life strategist like me that'll help you out, if that means you need to go to therapy, if that means you need to start moving and exercising your body, you have to start somewhere. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the women that are ready to start. They don't know, they know they need something. They know they need the help. They know they need change, but they don't know where to start. And that's why I'm here. And you don't even have to work with me. You can work with somebody else. As long as you're getting what you need, as long as you're learning how to regulate your nervous system, as long as you're learning how to separate yourself from toxic environments, it's time. It's time for you to, it's time now. Especially with the world being in the state that it is, you're going to learn, you got to learn how to regulate your nervous system. You got to learn how to be calm in a chaotic place that we live in, especially if you're in the States. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for people in the States. It's a lot going on here, and I'm not saying Saying there's not a lot going on in other places, but this is where I'm at right now, and this is where I can relate to. So when it comes to getting the help that you need, the help is out there. You can't say, "Oh, I don't know. There's nobody to help me." There is. There is. The help is out there. Some of y'all just don't want to pay for it. And that's understandable too, because you can do like I did and spend months and months and months on YouTube figuring it out. That's how I became an herbalist, figuring it out. Seen Dr. Sebi one day, and after that, I just did a whole bunch of research because I healed my stomach myself. The doctor did not heal my stomach. I don't know doctors that healed anybody, but the doctor did not heal my stomach when I was having stomach issues. I healed myself with the help of Dr. Sebi and other herbalists and herbal teas, herbal tinctures, herbal capsules. I healed myself. Nobody can say that I didn't do the work. I didn't put in the work because I did, and it took me months and months of research figuring out how to heal myself. And when I figured it out, I was like, "Oh, this is it." I'm not saying that I don't go to doctors. I do. I still go to doctors. You still have issues, but I'm not on any medication. None whatsoever. I don't have high blood pressure. I have never had high blood pressure. I don't have anything, no issues with my cholesterol. I don't have, my A1C was high at one point and I got that down. And even when I went back to the doctor, because I have a primary, I have a naturopathic doctor, and those are really the only two doctors I deal with right now. But when I went back to my naturopathic doctor and I told her, and she told me my A1C was high, and I came back, I don't know if I went back 2 or 3 months after my A1C was high, and she said my A1C was high, a little high. She was like, if I didn't handle it, then I probably would have been whatever stage of having diabetes. I went home and I figured something out about that too. And when I figured that out and I came back to her a couple of months later, she was like, "Your A1C is down. What did you do?" And she couldn't, she, and I just looked at her and I started laughing. I didn't even tell her what I did, but I got it down. I did certain herbs, but even within that, because that was after a stressful time, my mother had passed away. And after that, she was just like, she was kind of shocked that I got it down. And even my iron was low, and I got my iron back up. And she was like, "Well, how are you doing this?" After I kept going to her for a couple of times, I started telling her, I was taking herbs because even my estrogen was super high because I was stressed out. My mom was dying. She ended up passing, but I was taking care of her before she passed. So I was stressed out. I wasn't taking care of myself. And that's the thing. I was taking care of my mother and I wasn't taking care of myself. So then again, I got sick again. So my A1C was high. I was my estrogen was off the charts, and she was like, it was so high. She's never seen it that high. I got that down. And then I started telling her about the herbs that I was taking and stuff like that. But no doctor can really say that at this point in my life, they cannot say that they healed anything in my body. I did it myself. From research, from reading, from joining groups, from paying to be taught by a master herbalist. I did I learned all that stuff from 2020. I was I was learning so many different things about herbalism. And even now I feel like I don't know enough because it's so much. It's so much that you can learn. Hi Maritza. Am I saying that right? There's so much you can learn about herbalism. Like I feel like you're forever a student of herbalism, but I knew enough to heal my body. And there's nobody that could take that away from me. I knew enough to heal my body. I knew enough to reach out to people and ask for help. And some of y'all right now, you need help. And you don't know where to get the help, but you're sitting here in this live, and I'm the help. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe, like this video, and I will talk to you guys later. And make sure you hit the bell so when I go live, you guys will know when I go live. And I will talk to y'all later.